When I last turned around, there was a lot less people sat in the audience, so it's so nice to see you all. I have a question. So when was the last time you did something that you knew might make somebody else uncomfortable? Not in a dick-ish kind of way, more in a, this is who I am, and I refuse to shrink myself for you. So it could have been wearing your favorite scuffed trainers and baggy jeans to a very professional networking event yesterday, if you were me. It could be letting your music play on shuffle, even though you know that every song is not going to cater to everybody in the room. Or it could be actually calling out that joke that really wasn't funny. It was actually just borderline really offensive. So just think about it, mull on it over the next 15-20 minutes, and it's a question that we will come back to. Okay, so show of hands. Who in this room has at some point in their life had someone say or insinuate that they are in some way too much? Yeah. And then, wait, keep your hands up. So how many of you, consciously or subconsciously, then slowly started to shrink and edit yourself? And keep your hand up if that's the case. Yeah, same. Okay, one more question, and then I promise you can put your hand down. But who in this room knows probably that those too much parts of you are probably some of the best parts of you? Yeah, I love that I saw more hands going up. Amazing. Thank you. So the punk in you. So as Lee said, when you see and think about the word punk, you probably think mohawks, loud guitars, chaos, piercings, something a bit like this. Less probably me with my manicure and little cute blazer vest thingy. It's fine, that's literally the first thing I thought when I saw the theme. But that was until I did some research. And I realized that punk really is more than just a look. It's more than a sound. Punk is a stance. It says, I would rather be honest than be impressive. I'd rather be real than be digestible. I am not here to make you comfortable. I'm here to be me. It's a refusal to conform. And I realized that in its rawest form, punk is identity. Unpackaged, unpolished, and unapologetic. It doesn't wait for permission. It builds its own tables, stitches its own clothes, prints its own signs, and it lives in protest. Punk lives in your personal truth, and it is the freedom to exist outside of the lines. So we are living in a time. That really could just be the end of my sentence. We are living in a time. But the point I was going to make is that we're living in a time that romanticizes individuality and then rewards conformity. So the billboards say, be yourself, and then our systems say, but not like that. And this shows up everywhere, but especially in marginalized communities. So if you're queer, trans, black, neurodiverse, being yourself can feel like a constant risk assessment. Constantly having to ask yourself, how much of me is too much of me today? And so you shrink, and you start to edit, and censor, and perform, and in the process you lose yourself. And in turn, you then lose your power. And the thing is, the world is rarely changed by palatable people. It's changed by the people who get tired of pretending. The ones who are too loud, too proud, too bold, too complicated. And that is what we're going to talk about today, because we need more of that now more than ever. So the version of you underneath all of the people-pleasing and polishing, also known as the punk in you. So if you've ever heard me talk or been to a selfhood workshop or event, you know that I love to ask questions. There is always going to be a bit of introspection. So the way that it works is I say some things, and then I'll hold some space for you to explore some things, and then I'll say some more things, and then you explore some more things. And so the first thing I'd like to start with is a question. So if you have pen and paper, pull it out. If not, the notes app on your phone is absolutely fine. This is the one time in the talk I do not mind you looking at your phone. And the question is, I want you to create 2 lists or 2 columns. And I want you to just start thinking about the spaces. And when I say spaces, I mean rooms, experiences, people. But just the places where you have to edit who you are. And then I also want you to start creating a list of the spaces where you get to enjoy who you are. And again, spaces can be rooms, experiences, people. And the reason I want you to do this is because just becoming aware of this stuff starts to bring the power back. So I will stop talking for a second, give you some time to do some journaling, and then we'll continue. Okay, so just in caution of time, I'm going to keep talking, but by all means, finish your thought, and it is something that you can come back to. So I am mixed race, which means that growing up, I was the only brown kid in black and white families, which meant that in most rooms I entered, I was either too light, too dark, too quiet, too loud, to talking white, or to acting black. And so I learned early on that in order to get by, I should just become a professional chameleon, a shapeshifter, which is exactly what I did. At work, I was poised and polished. With friends, I was chill, and everywhere else, I was slightly edited. And one thing I do remember from the school days was that I used to say that I was Jamaican. Spoiler alert, I'm not. My family actually come from a tiny island called Dominica, which most people haven't heard of unless they've Googled not the Dominican Republic. Yeah, because it's not the Dominican Republic. But most of my friends were Jamaican. And so it was just assumed that I was too. And so when people made that assumption, I just didn't correct them. Until one day I got caught in the lie. And it was mortifying, obviously. But I think what was worse was the shame that I felt. That was more painful than the embarrassment. And I remember the ache underneath it, of just how much I wanted to belong. The fact that I had quietly been swallowing my truth just to feel an ounce of approval. And now that my nan, who is and was my connection to that culture, is no longer here, I feel that hurt even deeper. The time that I wasted rejecting this part of me, when I could have been asking stories, and I could have been wearing this part with pride. Because pride is punk. Unapologetically being yourself even when no one is clapping for it, is about one of the most rebellious things you can do. And so just speaking of pride has to be acknowledged. Happy Pride. We are right in the center of it. Yeah, give it a clap. Yes. Yeah, I am honored I get to be up here talking about this theme this weekend, right where the parade is going to be. Because, as I mentioned, pride is punk. Because before it was glitter and floats, it was resistance. It was black and brown trans women refusing to be silenced. It was them saying, I exist and I am not going anywhere, even if it shakes the room. It's every time a queer person has had to risk comfort for truth. Every time a trans person still has to fight just to exist. And every time a non-binary person chooses fullness over acceptance. Pride is punk. Because queerness and pride are cousins. They both ask, who would I be if I stopped editing myself and just started letting myself enjoy myself? Loudly and unapologetically. So that is the second thing I'd like you to sit with. Who would you be if you did stop editing yourself? What would it look like for you to be just a little bit more punk today? And in a minute, I'm going to give you 5 small ways that you can start to do that. But before I share with what came up for me, I just want to give you some space to see what comes up for you. So again, I will stop talking for a few seconds, minutes, and just spend some time thinking about it. What would that look like for you? Just to be a bit more punk. Okay, so I realized that these are probably questions. This happens in every single workshop or event. If people want the prompts afterwards, please just email me and I can send them across if it's something that you want to spend a bit more time with. That is no problem. I can probably even share this presentation maybe if that helps. Okay, so 5 ways, if you're not sure where to start, here are 5 ways to connect with the punk in you. Number 1. Notice where you're playing small. I can't tell you the amount of times when I was like practicing this talk where I would look at the slide and be like, where is the text? Oh yeah, it's here, it's here. It's there for a reason. So seriously, think about it. Think about the places in your life where you are currently playing small. It could be work, it could be in friendships, it could be with your style, it could be with your art, it could be online on social media. Just think about the areas where you are playing a little bit smaller than you know you could. And what I want you to do is just think about what it would look like if you dialed it up 10 to 15%. I'm not gonna ask you to change who you are overnight, I get it. I mean, we live in this world. But what if you just dialed it a little bit? So an example of that could be if you are someone who only wears black, that used to be me, dialing it up is just adding a red lip. You can still wear all black, but just have red lips. Or if you're a trainer person, all black with some bright trainers. So it doesn't have to be something extreme, but just slowly start playing with this thing and ask yourself what it would look like if I just did a little bit more, if I was just a little bit bigger. So again, going to stop talking for a second. Please just come up with one thing that you think you're playing small in right now, and then ask yourself, how could I dial that up 10 to 15%? Another example could be a boundary, you know? People are always talking about boundaries these days. Setting a boundary with friends or family. Maybe it's just asking your uncle to stop commenting on your professional LinkedIn posts. You know? Okay. 2, reclaim the parts of you that you've been taught to tone down. Okay, so I have some very random prompts. I like trying to think of different ways to ask you to think about things. Okay, so imagine you were invited to a really boring, stuffy dinner party, one that you didn't really want to be at, and all your parts were invited, so all of the things that make you you. What part of you would get kicked out of this dinner party? So would it be your honesty? Would it be your weirdness, your loudness, your passion? I know for me, for a fact, it would be my passion. And it would be the fact I always want to talk about identity. Because even if I go for dinner with friends, sometimes people just want to talk about Love Island. Not everyone wants to talk about the existential crisis that they're having. I always want to talk about the existential crisis. So I know that that part of me, and it's been a part of me that has been told to tone down, being too much, asking too deep questions. But it's something I've come to own. So just think about it for you. What is a part of you that would get kicked out of a boring, stuffy dinner party that you didn't want to be at anyway? And whatever that is, please we just want more of that, please. 3, question the scripts. I've always been quite good at this one. So what is a script or a story that could do with some questioning? And this is a whole talking topic in its own thing. But there are so many things that we just believe, that we swallow as fact, as just the way things are, that absolutely are not fact and just the way things are. They're just stories or scripts or things that we were told in our childhood or in the media or by parents or at school. And sometimes you just need to question them. Punk isn't about being rebellious for rebellious sake, but if rules are hollow or broken or limited or dangerous, then the punks are the ones who are going to challenge them. So that is number 3. Start relearning that word why. Channel the inner precocious child that's like, well, why do we do that? Why is that the way? So why is that the definition of success or professionalism? Making money, having a nice house, whatever the things are. Do you really have to pick one lane and stick to it? Are you flaky or just multi-passionate? And also, who says you should be further ahead by now? The big one is the timeline. Like, who made that timeline? So just take a moment and think about something that perhaps you've been holding over your head recently, or you feel like it's been coming up for you, a story that you tell yourself or a script that you're following that actually maybe it will be punk of you to question and decide whether that's actually the story that you want to tell going forwards. 4, make a mess and then make meaning. I really like this slide. Your inner punk is passionate. They're not polished. Their focus is on creating things, not perfecting things. So what can you do this weekend? What mess can you make this weekend? It's pride. Go big with your outfit. Go big with the makeup. Maybe you actually want a quiet weekend and painting is something that you've been wanting to get back into. Dollarama has a number of great supplies for that. Maybe it's creating content. Maybe you want to post something on TikTok or Instagram or LinkedIn and you don't want to do it for likes. You just want to do it to express yourself in a fun way. Let your rough drafts, bold experiments, and wild ideas take up space. So for me, at Selfhood, we publish a newsletter every other Sunday. And that is one of the places I know I get to be messy, because every single newsletter starts as just this like scrambled thought loop inner consciousness thing in my notes app. That's what every email starts as. And then afterwards we tweak it and make sure it makes sense, but that is the one time I know I can just dump on a page and be messy and then turn it into something meaningful. And so finally, surround yourself with people who don't flinch at your bigness. Ba-da! Oh, it's very punk of the presentation. We good? I'm almost done anyway. Just gonna have to stand there, Lee. Okay, I won't move. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Oh my God. Okay, this was intentional. I'm trying to reinforce the not flinching part. Right. Well, I can just explain the slide. It was, if you know the Andy from Office meme that's like, nailed it. There you go. That was the next one. Because the fact that you're in this room already means that you're putting yourself in spaces with open, kind, creative people. So congratulations on that. But if you are wanting a bit more guidance, then that list I told you to write 15 minutes ago, you want to spend more time at the places where you get to enjoy who you are. So just to recap, 5 ways to tap into your big punk energy. 1, stay big when they want you to be small. 2, tone up the things that you've been told to tone down. 3, question the scripts. Heavy on the, but why should I? 4, make more meaningful, messy mess. And 5, find your fellow punks. The ones also along for the ride. So I get to spend my days working with amazing creatives, leaders, founders, entrepreneurs, helping them do the deep identity work, which is essentially just supporting people move from who they are to who they want to be. And the thing is, all of it is already inside you. All of it. So whether you want to be more confident, whether you want to get up on stage more, whether you want to play with your style, maybe you want to become a little bit more inner punk, all of those things are already in you. It's not about going out and finding new things. The issue is that most of them have just been buried along the way, being told not to be like this, or don't be too much like that, or it's easier if you fit in if you do this. So the work is really just about reconnecting with those parts of you and becoming a little bit more intentional about the version of you that you want to be and show up in the world as, moving forwards. And you get to change your mind, by the way. You get to do this a lot. You can decide, and then 1 year, 2 years, 2 weeks, you can decide to do and be somebody else. So at the beginning, I asked when the last time was that you did something that maybe would have made someone feel a little bit uncomfortable, not in a dick way, more in a this is just who I am kind of way, and I'm not going to shrink myself. And I hope that after today, there is going to be a few more of us out in the world doing that. Saying the thing, wearing the thing, creating the thing, being the thing. Even if it shakes the room. Because who you are has never been the problem. The system is. So be proud, be you, and be a little bit more punk. And if it is something that you would like guidance with, that is what I do. Every Sunday, every other Sunday, we have a free newsletter where we do exactly this. So we support you in exploring your inner, often hidden world with a lesson, 3 questions, and a dare. So if that is something that you are interested in, that is this QR code, completely free, unsubscribe at any time. And this is my contact info. And that is everything.